Now on to the Dominaria United blue cards. So the first one we have up is Academy Wall, which is a common 2 and a blue wall with Defender. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. And it's a 05. Uh, this seems like it would be pretty decent in the Defender deck. I would probably give this around like a 5 or 6. I'm not sure. It kind of is hinged on whether or not Defender deck is real.
I mean, it'd probably be a 5 or 6 in the Defender deck. Probably like a 4 to 5 in the instant sorcery deck, but probably generally like a 3.
Yeah, in the Defender deck, it's probably going to be a key piece to make sure that you can continually draw your defenders and get them out there. You know, even with the instant or sorcery, it's pretty tough to trigger every time. Like, how many cards are you really getting with this thing? You know, in those kind of decks, it's probably like a 4 to 5. And just your regular deck, like vacuum, you're probably talking like a 1 or a 2 here. I'll give it a 2 just because I think there's a lot of creatures with 4 power that, and so I think 5 might be good enough just to stop them on the ground. So it's probably a 2 for me.
All right, next we have Essence Scatter. Colorless in a blue for an instant counter target creature spell. This has been reprinted 1,000 times. It's in a lot of sets. It's a 4 to me.
It's 40. It's a 6 to me. That is some premium actual removal in blue. It's been a while since we've had something that actually just straight up counters a creature at that kind of level. You know, since we've seen Essence Scatter. You know, normally we get those tapping kind of things, but this straight up just stops it. So I think it's going to be, you know, be high on your pick order there, just as a blue removal spell. So 6 for me.
It's at a 5 for me. It kind of depends on the format. Like, it's super premium for only 2 mana, but I'm not sure how many instants or sorceries I'm going to be like worried about that would like make this less good. I'm not sure how many decks this is just kind of going to be blank against, but it's for sure never going to be blank against every single deck. So
yeah, like it's making the cut, right?
Yeah, damn near always.
Yeah, I think it's like a bottom 3 cards in your blue deck to me.
Oof, it'd be top. It'd be top for me. I mean, it's just a removal spell as far as I'm concerned on that. You know, most of the time. Tough one. Haunting Figment, 1 colorless, 1 blue for a 2/1 vigilance creature illusion. Haunting Figment can't be blocked as long as you've cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. So going along that casting instants and sorceries and just making this guy good probably doesn't even make him good. I think it's a 3. And that's very generous.
Yeah, I'm at a 4 on it. I don't think it's good. The fact that it has vigilance is kind of irrelevant too. I don't know. It just seems kind of bad. I don't know why you would want like an aggressive, can't be blocked creature in a deck that you just have a shit ton of like instants and sorceries in. You know? I don't get it. I don't think it's gonna be good.
What if it didn't say can't be blocked? What if it was just a 2/1 vigilance for 2?
It's like a
It'd be
a
still
4.
a 3 or 2.
Really?
Yeah. I'm ignoring the fact that it can't be blocked as long as you cast an instant or sorcery.
Like,
spell.
this is just going to sit back, and it's either going to trade with, like, their 2-drops, which is what you need in this deck, right? Like, you need, like, a blue thing. You just need something that's going to trade with 2-drops. This does that. It's fine. If they don't want to trade their 2-drops into it, like, if they're scared to hit into it, then you just get a couple free damage in, and then you still trade with the 2-drop or chump. Like,
man.
This is at least a 5. At least a 5.
Oh, jeez. That seems pretty high. I don't know. My instant and sorcery decks, I've always just preferred like a 3/3 defender and just let that guy hold the ground. I'm never getting aggressive in these kind of instant and sorcery decks.
I think Academy Wall, like the Academy Wall, is better than this in that deck.
No shot.
Yeah,
no shot.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to go to a 2 on this thing.
Which is better, a creature that can't be blocked in your super not aggressive deck,
Yeah.
or drawing a card and discarding a card.
Why is your blue-red deck going to be super not aggressive? What are you talking? Like, you're just going to lightning strike him in the face and hit him with Killing Fiends. Like, what are you talking about? It's not aggressive.
It just doesn't seem. This creature doesn't seem like as aggressive as that deck would want.
It's unblockable damage at basically no cost. It's not unblockable every turn, but if it's unblockable, like these are free. Like, you're getting these pick 6, 7, and later, right? Like,
They get better in numbers, so
they
that's
get
true.
way better in numbers.
Yeah.
Better in numbers. Obviously, you're not going to hit with them every turn. Like, you're obviously not going to pack one, pick one this and build around it. But like, if you're in this deck, like, you're pretty excited at the end of a pack, like, you're picking these up. Like, if you're in the blue-red, it's going to be disgusting. If you can bounce something, if I can have 10 of these in my deck, like, I'm going to stomp you. But I don't know. I'm going to set it out of 5 because you do kind of have to, like, build around it, but not really, because it's still a 2/1 vigilance for 2, which I'm, like, in for.
Yeah. I'll go up to a 3 on it, but I mean, I'm not going any higher.
I'm at a 4. I'm staying a 4. All right, next up we have Impulse.
You know what? Boom me up to a 6. No.
What? That's hot take.
Do it, coward.
Okay. This will have 2 percentage points higher win rate than Academy will.
Oh, wow.
That is not true.
Probably
Not true.
Times that will.
How's that? How's that for a hot take? And a higher win rate than Essence Scatter.
Oh, no, that's not going to be.
No, for sure not.
That's definitely.
There we go. There's my hot take.
Wow. All right.
Impulse, which is a reprint, which is a 1 and a blue for an instant. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest onto the bottom of your library in any order. It's what you probably want in your like blue-red spells matter decks. I don't know, it's pretty good. Four cards is a lot. I'd probably give it like a 5.
Yeah, I don't think I would play this that often unless I had 1 or 2 like super good game-winning bombs that I'm like trying to find. Card selection is nice. Like, obviously it fits into some decks, but to me, this is like cut more times than it's played in my deck. So I'm gonna give it a 3.
I think this is a 4 for me. I'll give it 4 for every card that you look at. I think it's been traditionally pretty decent. You know, it digs deeper than most cards do. You know, normally you only get 3 or 2 of a, you know, like sort of like a scry, I guess, like this thing is. But, you know, digging for your bombs or just digging out for that next curve card to get you there or a removal spell is just pretty good. And this gets you pretty deep. And it's instant too. So, you know, you do it at the end of turn looking for that answer or in response to something looking for that essence scatter. So, yeah, it's a 4 for me.
Impede Momentum. It's a colorless and a blue for a sorcery. Tap target creature and put 3 stun counters on it. Scry 1. You know, the sleep enchantments that tap something down and keep it tapped, but this is not as permanent, but it's also not as vulnerable. So I'm kind of like conflicted on whether or not I think this is going to be good. Like, those enchantments are always fine. I'm sure this will be like fine, but part of me feels like this could be worse than those. But again, it's less vulnerable, so like maybe it's not. I guess it keeps it tapped for 3 turns, which is like an enormous amount of time most of the time if it's something that you want to tap. And the little bonus to scrying one is like not nothing. It's like kind of close to nothing, but it's not nothing. I think I'm just gonna start this off with a baseline 5, and this is definitely one I'll have to go back and adjust.
Yeah, I think I'm cutting this card more often than not. I just don't think the stun counters on that. I mean, it's nice that it taps the creature, which is good. The scry one is a nice little add-on, but I mean, this thing's a 1 for me. I just don't see myself really playing it too often. You know, it's nice in that aggressive red deck. You know, normally they traditionally do well with cards that do something like this, where they, you know, tap the creature down. But also, those are normally accompanied by a draw card. And I don't think I'm going to miss the draw card rather than the scrying here. So, 1 for me.
I'm at like a 4 on this. Like, I think in hyper aggressive decks that this is going to be pretty decent, but it's hard for me to like put this where I'd put like any like real removal. Seems okay though. Like, I think you're going to only play this in blue-red.
To me, if there's like a blue-red, yeah, like spells matter on your turn type situation, you know, like the Killing Fiends and the 2/1 vigilance.
It goes
and stuff.
way down in my book for the fact that it's a sorcery. Like, because you kind of just lose an extra stun counter by it just kind of being a sorcery. Because you could just like If it was an instant, you could play it on your opponent's upkeep.
Like, yeah, if this was an instant, it would probably be like a 7.
Oh,
It would be like a 6,
wow, you guys
maybe a
are,
5,
wow.
probably a 5.
I think you guys are way too high on stun.
I mean, what deck do you not want to like tap their best thing for 3 turns for 2? Like, you rated this lower than the defender that taps for 3 every. You have to pay 3 every turn. Like, I would play this way over that.
Yeah, but that does it indefinitely. Like, games go beyond. Like, sometimes when you get bogged down in a match, like, this just doesn't break it enough for you. I don't think it does. Like, I'd rather invest to be able to do it as long as I can, or to switch to target as needed. I don't think the upside of a not drawing a card is really rough on this kind of effect. And so I just think I'm cutting this like every time. If this is coming down to like a 23rd card situation, I'm cutting this sucker. Like, it just doesn't have enough impact on the board. It doesn't even kill the creature, really. Like, if it stunned 2 creatures, that'd probably be really good. And then it's sorcery, you're not really able to like get them on their turn. That was always the hallmark of those kind of glacial freezes or whatever, is to just like tap their creature on their turn, so you get another, like, you basically get pseudo 2 times with it. And so you're losing out on that too. This is just cut every time. Sorry, guys.
I don't think so. I think I play this over Impulse 9 times out of 10.
Hell no.
Hell no.
That's a hot take.
That's a hot take.
I mean, I rated Impulse a 3. I rated this a 5. So.
Wow. I welcome you to please play more more impede momentum against me, and we'll see which wins, the impulse that I'm going to play, or the momentum that's going to temporarily stun my creature.
Okay. Temporarily for 4 attacks, but yeah.
Oh man,
4 attacks is a lot of attacks.
Some attacks, but I don't think it's. Yeah, I think when you get deadlocked with somebody, it's just not going to do enough.
Like, I'll definitely admit that I could be wrong on this, but like for now, I think it's like pretty good.
All right,
it's a 5.
Next up, we have negate, 1 colorless, 1 blue, instant, counter target non-creature spell. This has been reprinted a bunch of times as well, as it's the counterpart to Essence Scatter, except this one gets rated a little bit lower for me. It's a 2. I mean, it just kind of comes out as a sideboard. I've played this kind of card before, where like if the removal is really high, then this card gets a little bit better. But I think this is a 2. It just comes out of the sideboard.
Yeah, I have 2 on it. This just isn't the set for it.
It's definitely just coming out of the board. It's a 2 for me as well.
So next up we have Phyrexian Espionage, which is 2 and a blue. For a sorcery with kicker 1 and a black, draw 2 cards. If this spell was kicked, each opponent discards a card. This is like a 4 for me. This is worse than Impulse. You can make your opponent discard a card, but that costs 5 mana, and you damn near have to tap out for it, because it costs 5 mana to do that. I'm not very high on this. It's like a mid divination.
Strictly better divination.
Yeah, but like divination is kind of mid.
Yeah, it's divination's like a 5. This is strictly better divination. Divination might be a 4, but
it depends on the set, right?
Like, I would way play this over Impulse in the Spells Matter decks, which drawing 2 is just so much better to me than drawing 1. Even though the card selection is better on Impulse, to me this is like a 4 to 5. Like, you're not super excited to play it. You're almost never gonna make him discard, but it's strictly better divination. Like, it's gonna be bottom 20 to 23 cards, and you're gonna consider cutting it a lot, but it might make the deck sometimes. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Yeah, I think it's a 4 for me. I mean, it's pretty good if you're going to go late in the game. That extra card may matter. So then you get that extra card advantage there. But even as a divination, it's pretty decent. Yeah, it's a 4. It's just it's solid. It may be played, it may not be, but it's always going to be on the cusp there.
All right, next we have Pixie Illusionist. This is 1 mana for a 1/1 flyer as kicker for 3 and a green. If Pixie Illusionist was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters on it. You can tap it, and target land you control becomes the basic land type of your choice until end of turn. 1 mana 1/1 flyer that can fix your mana. I think this is just a solid playable. It's a 5.
It's a 5 for me. I like that, that 1 drop, being able to fix your lands in domain, or give you that extra bit of domain in those decks if you've got a 4 color and you're trying to get to stretch out to that 5th domain. That's pretty nice ability. And then just becoming a 3/3 flyer, with that kicker for 5 is pretty decent. That's kind of baseline on your common flyers is like a 3/3 for 5. Yeah, it's a 5. I think that target land ability becoming a basic land of your choice is probably going to come up big at times.
Yeah, I'm super high. I'm probably like a very, very, very low 7. Like I think it's just got enough flexibility. I can't not play this card. This card's sick to me. The fact that it's also a 1-drop, like we haven't seen too many 1-drops in this set. Like it seems like it's probably gonna end up being like a pretty premium blue common. It reminds me a lot of Network Disruptor.
Oh my god, it's not even
There's no
close.
close to that.
Got a deck that wants it very badly.
Oh,
You
gosh.
know?
I don't know.
Not if the deck's well built. No, it doesn't. It wants maybe 1 or 2, but if the deck's well built and the mono base is well built, it could care less about having the Pixie Illusionist.
Yeah, I like it.
no.
I like it.
I think that's your predilection for prismatic 5-color decks or something. Like you wanting to do domain all the time is speaking out there. I think it's solid in that deck, and I think it's a solid flyer. You know, even a 1/1 flyer has always been. It's like pretty decent, but yeah, little upside to help you cast your double costed spells though, or your double colored spells, like the double whites in there. All right, next up we have Shore Up, 1 blue, instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof until the end of turn. Untap it. This is going to shore up a lot of victories. I think it really will. I've seen cards like this have traditionally just, that hexproof is just, you know, like the turn asides or whatever. It just saves your best creature. The +1/+1 is really nice. The untap is good. It's that extra little bit of damage sometimes to punch through somebody, or it's the, you know, hitting them on the defense of this and then not, you know, them not being able to really get that creature. I think it's strong. It's 5 for me.
Yeah, I have it at 5.
The only thing I want to make a note of is this is the second instant speed thing we've seen that says untap it, and there's a couple of untap conditional removal spells.
Yes.
And those are starting to go down in my book. And this, because this,
But like this also gives them hexproof, so like it doesn't even matter that.
if I go to put 3 stun counters on your dude and give it sorcery, even though it might already be tapped or whatever, I give it hexproof and untap it, like it just feels super bad.
Yeah, that's definitely relevant in these kind of like this.
Or you can just remove a stun counter a turn sooner than expected. Like,
Yeah,
I like it.
this
It's
is
solid. You're gonna want one, at least one. Yeah.
I played definitely that kind of spell in Kamigawa, the green one that gave it hexproof and 2 life. I mean, that's just good. I mean, these things are pretty good. It didn't even untap the thing, and this is even better.
Soaring Drake. 2 and a blue for a Drake with flying, and it's a 2/3. This is pretty good stats for what you're paying for. I think this is kind of like a little bit higher than we normally see. Like normally we see like Winddrake's like a 3 mana 2/2 flyer. This it seems like this is kind of a little bit pushed, but it's still like a 5, maybe a low 6, but you're gonna probably want this. This is pretty decent.
what was the best part about Modern Age?
Is a 2/3 flyer.
It was a 2/3 flyer. You couldn't get that until turn 4.
Yeah, but it also cost 1 less mana and drew you 2
I know, I
Yeah.
know.
like
We have lots of Alibaba and Wish versions of things, right? In the set.
Yeah.
This is the Wish Modern Age. But yeah, I think it's a 5. Maybe a 6. I could see it being a 6.
I think it's a solid 5. It's always making the cut. When you've seen 2/3 flyers like this, they normally can't block. This guy can block. It just dwarfs out even 4-cost flyers sometimes. I mean, it's just going to trade up every time. And it's just good. It's good on defense. It's decent on attack. It's a glow up for your average Windrake for sure. 5.
On a scale of lumens, how lit is this, Andrew?
It's like a 7 on the lit scale. It's pretty dang lit.
7 lumens ain't shit. That's really dim.
Oh shoot. Okay. 70,000 lumens.
Oh wow!
That's like the sun, Andrew.
Cut that. Somebody define what a lumen is for me.
Oh, man.
Like an 800 lumen light bulb is super bright. Like I have 800 lumen light bulbs and it's like blinding kind of.
Like your one in your life that has like one light bulb in your room, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it's
when I
pretty
play
bright.
this, I need to wear sunglasses. Like that's how this is.
Yeah. I'm excited for this next one.
Next we have Talus Lookout. 2 mana, 2 colorless, and 2 blue. It's a 3/2 flyer. Whenever Talus Lookout dies, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other into the graveyard. I guess when I first read this card, I thought it was Enter the Battlefield, but it's when it dies. It's still a 3/2
Oh,
flyer for 4. It's still pretty good. And obviously they're going to have to deal with it, and then you're going to get a card back. I think it's a 6. The double pip is a real cost, though.
I think it's a 5. I mean, it's just the double blue, pretty bad. It's gonna trade with everything. You're gonna get the cards back. It just kind of replaces itself. It's not the best in a line of these kind of creatures before, but it's pretty decent. So 5 for me.
I also thought that it was an enter the battlefield ability. That definitely makes it go down, but still, the fact that it's like a 3/2 flyer that gets you card advantage once it dies, right? But I don't know. It's probably like a extra light 7 for me.
Wow.
I'm gonna take this over any piece of removal.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm quite over any piece of removal, but
I mean, when this thing gets O-ring, you don't even get to draw the cards.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That's why it's not an 8.
if you ever sit next to Roby, just don't plan on getting a Talus Lookout.
You won't.
Ever.
Never.
You will not value them highly enough to get one.
I just plan on passing this and forcing him into blue. That double blue is real tough.
Joke's on you. I'm always going to be in blue. Every deck this format.
You've activated my trap card.
All right. Next up, we've got Tide Pool Turtle. 3 colorless, 1 blue. It's a creature turtle for a 2/5, and its ability is 2 colorless and 1 blue. Scry 1. That's a solid guy. It's a 3 for me. I don't know. He's probably being cut most of the time.
Yeah, I'll probably have it at like 4. I don't really like it. It's got a huge butt, though. Like, it's super dirtily. I don't know. I have it at like 4.
Wait, are we talking about the art?
No, I'm talking about like the toughness. It doesn't have a very big butt in the art.
No, it doesn't.
It's pretty proportional.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's a 3. It's a 3.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good sideboard card. Like, I'd decide to sit against any aggressive deck. It's just not going to be played main.
Timely Interference. 1 blue mana for an instant with kicker 1 and a red. Target creature gets -1/-0 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, that creature blocks this turn if able. Then draw a card. This is gonna be like a staple in the red-blue aggressive decks. You're gonna get blown out by this all the time. I think this is probably like a 5, maybe a 6.
This is the card I want with all my 2/1 Vigilances.
Yeah.
Like, I just want a deck full of 2/1 Vigilances and Timely Interferences, and that's it. That's the whole deck. With that being said, it's probably like a 5.
Yeah. It's a cantrip.
Yeah, I got this kind of in that red blue. I mean, it's already set up for it with that kicker being red. I think it's a 4. I mean, it's probably making the cut of that deck. In other decks, I don't know. It's probably making it, but it's going to be close. I think it just the upside gets better as you get into that red blue kind of archetype there, and it's good that it cantrips too.
Yeah, I think the kick forcing something to block for an extra 2 is not nothing either. Like, it's kind of could be a little bit of removal too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Next we have Tolarian Geyser. Tolarian Geyser is 2 mana and a blue. It's a sorcery as kicker 1 white. So just kicker, just a white. Return target creature to its owner's hand, draw a card. If the spell is kicked, you gain 3 life. I'm a little bit torn on this. It's a sorcery.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's no Into the Royal, but it costs 1 less than Into the Royal if you don't care about gaining 3 life, and if you do, you also get to gain 3 life. I think right now I'm gonna have it at 4, but I think when you lean more into like more aggressive blue decks, you probably want to value it a little bit more, especially if you can establish a board before like your opponent. For now, I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, I got this thing at a 5. I think the card draw is really good. If you ever get to kick it in your aggressive or slower decks, I mean, it just that 3 life may matter. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, it's a 5 for me. And I think I'd probably want multiples of these. Just start chaining them out. It's going to be brutal.
I'm probably at like a 6. I think I value it a little higher than you guys. Like, it's pretty flexible, kind of. It's a sorcery, which sucks, but I like it.
Yeah, this definitely goes up like the more counters and stuff you like to play too, obviously, because you can.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Tolarian Terror. 6 colorless, 1 blue for a 5/5 serpent. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard, and it also has Ward 2. This guy is pretty decent. I give it a 5. I mean, it definitely goes much higher in that instant and sorcery deck when you start casting this guy at 4 cost or even lower than that. Then it gets real good. That ward is nothing to sneeze at either. With all these cards needing kicker for them, it's going to be much tougher to get that value on the kicker when you start targeting this guy with removal.
Yeah, I'm probably at like a 5 too. I think this gets good with like the cantrips, and I don't know. I'm not sure how easy it is going to be to like get a bunch of instants and sorceries in your graveyard, but I think all you need is 2 for this to be like pretty decent. So I'll probably give it a 5. It could go up. I think like the floor is like a 5 though.
Yeah, I'm 3 to 4 on this. I think like in the deck that this would be good in, like the instants and sorcery deck, this is not the payoff you want. Obviously, with that deck, you have to have the balance of like the creatures and the stuff that matters for the card for the instant sorceries to like be relevant, and you have to have the instant sorceries. And if you get too many like payoffs and not enough instant sorceries, this is bad. If you get too many instant sorceries and not enough payoffs, like this is not one of the better ones to me. Like I honestly rather have the 2 ones.
Whew. Yeah, I think the payoff's there. I mean, you get to double spell with this guy. Like, that's pretty good to have some mana backup after you played all those instant sorceries. Play this guy and still have mana up. It's just like, that's a pretty aggressive play, and it's really tough to get around because they still got to play against whatever you got in your hand.
I could definitely see it being like pretty good and a complete build around like I'm going to build around Tolarian Terror's deck.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just throwing it into any instant sorcery blue-red deck is not going to be quite as good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this guy feels like he's always going to probably cost 5 most of the time, right?
Yeah, it's pretty easy for him to cost 5 for a 5/5, which is fine.
Yeah, that's pretty good stats. I wish he had another ability, but
Yeah, Ward isn't nothing. Yeah, he'll be annoying. Be like that little 4/5 giant from AFR or whatever.
Yeah.
That was mid at best.
But that was also like the worst color in the format. You know.
That's true.
You know,
That's
it was
true.
unplayable color combo.
That is true.
Voda Sea Scavenger, which is 2 and a blue for a Merfolk Rogue, a 3/2. With domain, whenever it enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control, and you may put one of those cards on top of your library, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I think this is probably going to be like a 5 in the heavy domain decks. Because like at a certain point, scrying can almost equal a card, I think. Like once you get up to like 3 scry, that's like as good as drawing a card.
Oh, I don't know.
I think so. I think scry is about like half of a little bit less than half of a card. Like just being able to like really stack the top of your deck.
But you can't. You have to put the rest on the bottom no matter what.
I would give it like a 5 still. I don't think it's above that, but
yeah, I'm between 3 and 4. I'm probably going with 4 because at the end of the day, it's still 3/2 for 2, and it still at least lets you look at the top 2
yeah.
most of the time.
yeah,
And you can put them both on bottom. Yeah.
I'm a 4 on this as well for the same reason. I think you're getting Scry too, and that's about it out of this guy.
I mean, like even in my domain decks, do I really want to waste my time doing this? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Get you closer to winning the game.
I don't know. Blocks a 2-drop, really.
Yeah.
All right, next we have Volsci Tide Turner, a colorless and a blue for a 1/3 Merfolk Wizard. Tap it, add a blue to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast an instant sorcery or a kicked spell. This to me is not very good. It's a 1/3 for 2, and you can only spend the mana for instant sorceries. I don't know. To me, it's like a 3.
Yeah, to me it's a 2. I've seen guys like this before, and they barely make the cut. If they don't even make the cut most of the time, they're just kind of drawn in. If I find somebody who's like aggressive or something like that, but yeah, it's just not for me.
I'm a little higher. I think this is probably like a 4. The 1/3 isn't irrelevant. I think like we've seen a lot of 2/2s for 2, especially out of like white. And I think like being able to use the mana to cast instants and sorceries it seems okay to me. I think it's all right.
The only deck this is going to be good in is the counter everything deck.
No, I think even like this might be kind of relevant in like an aggro mirror if like you're playing red blue. I think it's like even like okay in red blue.
No.
It's like a 23rd
Did
card, but like
No.
you say aggro? Did you just say aggro?
yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You leave the aggro to me, okay?
I'm
not playing 1/3s in
I don't
aggro.
hate it. I don't hate it.
Unless they have enlists. We will play 1/3s with enlists
Yeah,
and
I
aggro.
don't know.
Yes.
I hardly ever play guys like this. Like I've seen dudes like this in other sets, and it's never really played.
Normally their mana doesn't ever do anything relevant. I feel like it might do something kind of relevant with like instants and sorceries. That's a thing.
It's nice for the kicker, but when you're splashing some really off-color kicker stuff, but I don't think it's even that worth it.
Right, but then you had the blue anyway, so
Yeah.
you had the blue anyway to play it. So like, why do you need the
it's
blue to
just-
kick?
it's
Yeah.
not good enough.
If it could add any color for just kick spells, like that would be better.
It would be better, but that's not an ability. Blue,
Right.
Blue normally doesn't get any color. Oh man! All right, next up we have Battle Wing Mystic. One colorless, one blue for an uncommon 2/1 Bird Wizard. Kicker 1 red. And it's flying. When Battle Wing Mystic enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, discard your hand, then draw 2 cards. So this is definitely in the aggressive style. It's pretty good in that. You know, you get that 2/1 flyer just being not kicked. That's going to get in there for some damage. The kicker cost, you know, that's a pretty steep price discarding your hand. But this is a heck of a top deck, you know, when you're kind of hell-bent, no cards in hand. So it's a 5 for me. You're never really kicking it if you're already ahead and have a bunch of cards in hand, obviously you're never kicking this thing. But, you know, it's a pretty decent top deck when you guys are both in top deck mode.
This is like a 7 for me. Like this is super good. Like a 2/1 flyer for 2 mana, like that's already pretty good rate. Like we played Vampire Interloper and they couldn't block and you could never get card advantage off it. Like this is pretty good to me. I'm a huge fan. You're gonna want this in red blue decks for sure.
Yeah, I'm at about the 7, just at the 2/1 flyer for 2, right? Like that's I'm all about it. I mean, 2/1 flyer for 2, and then if you top deck it, it's still good, which is very rare for your 2-drops.
I'm taking this over removal for sure.
I'm taking this even with removal. Like to me, this is like depends on what's deck's better territory with removal.
It's like how many times are you really kicking this with cards in hand? You know, I guess it's nice to have the selectivity, I guess, but yeah, that's tough. No flashback in this set.
It turns on your big serpents, your 5/5 serpents.
This card cannot have the kicker text on it at all. It would still be a 6, maybe even a 7.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like a 6. I don't think it would be a 7, but
Oh,
6 is good. All right, next up we have Combat Research, which is 1 blue mana for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. As long as enchanted creature is legendary, it gets +1/+1 and has ward 1. It's like a solid 2 for me.
Is
I
this
hate
is this okay to play with the 4/5 vigilance first strike guy? The 4/4 vigilance lifelink first strike guy?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't. I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't. I probably still wouldn't.
You wouldn't play this, throw it on something, hit him once, let it die, get it back from the graveyard.
Yeah, he digs it
Yeah.
out. That's strong.
You think it's strong?
I think it's a definitely a 3. I think it doesn't, you know.
I don't even think it's a 3. Like,
I think it's a 3.
I
I think
don't know.
I like these curiosity type effects, and there seem to be a lot of cheap flyers, especially a 2/1 flyer for 2. That if you start,
Putting this on your Battle Wing Mystic is fucking disgusting.
yeah,
For sure. Like, I
Yeah.
will agree with that.
I got it at 3.
Yeah, getting in for 1 on this feels like it did its like work, but I don't know. Drawing a card for 1 is not good. If you draw a card though, and fetch a removal spell because of it, like kind of disgusting. But I'll start with a 4 on it. I'm gonna start with a 4. All right. Next we have Coral Colony. This is a colorless and a blue for a 1/4 defender. It's 1 in a blue to tap it, and target player mills X cards, where X is the number of creatures you control with defender. This is one of those defender payoffs. This is another one that if you see it, you know, pick 4 and beyond, you just move in and say, we're doing it. We're going defenders. I think it's really hard to first pick and force this, because if anyone besides you first picks and forces it, like you're just going to be out of luck. on its own in a vacuum, it's better than if like this is the only defender in your deck. It's slightly better than the other one.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, that's a 1/4 for 2. It's better than the other one on its own. For that reason, I'm gonna give it build around. Obviously, if you're in the defender deck, it's like a 9, 8, 9. But just like the other one, but on its own, I'm gonna give it like a 4.
Yeah, I think this is a solid 3. Yeah, it's not defender deck. Defender deck. Obviously, these things go much higher. You're talking in that 8-9 territory there. But just on its own, it's pretty good. A 1/4. That's kind of the first defender we've really seen with a power. Actually, normally they're just all toughness, and that's pretty aggressive as far as like a wall could be.
Walling.
As a wall being aggressive, being a 1/4, and then just having some sort of at least you mill 1 out of that. So you're starting to attack on a different front there. I like it as a 3. It's pretty much it'll probably make the cut in your slower or your flyers decks, your white blue flyers decks. It just holds off the ground really well.
Yeah, I'm at like a 7 on it. In the defender deck, I don't think it's nearly as good as the other one. As far as like a payoff goes,
Mhm.
I don't think you can really play this. You're more likely to play this outside of a defender deck than you are the other one.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should put this in your deck unless you're all in. It is a 1/4, which is super annoying, but yeah.
Yeah. You're at a 7 on it?
7, yep.
All right. All right. Next up, we have Jin of the Fountain. It is a 4 colorless, 2 blue, 4/4 flying Jin creature. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you choose one of the following. Jin of the Fountain gets a +1/+1 until the end of turn. The second ability is you can exile, or the second choice actually is you can exile Jin of the Fountain, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the end step. And the third choice is to scry 1. I think this is that payoff you're looking for in those instant sorcery decks. It's a really good curve topper. It's very hard to kill. That exile ability on it's very nice. The +1/+1 is pretty decent, so it'll get past some of those other flyers we've seen that can kind of boost up a little bit. And the scry 1 is it's fairly decent to tack that onto your spells. I rate it as it's a solid 6 to me.
Yeah, I'm at a 6 too. It's like the go-to bad win con. like it's not special. It's not that good, but like you're gonna play this if you just need a big flyer. Like it's fine. It's fine. You're gonna play it, but
it's not special.
it's not
wow,
special.
you're really going for the jabs here.
I
Whoever
don't
designed
love it.
this card. It's not special. It's just basic vanilla pumpkin latte.
For sure.
Run of the mill trash.
Don't love it.
Wow.
It's not trash. It's still a 6.
It's a 6. Yeah, I agree that it's a 6. I think it's pretty evasive, but like I think if they try to kill it at the right timing, it could really hamper you. Like even if you can save it.
I think if you ever tap with this thing's just sticking on the board forever. Like it's not going anywhere. This guy's good. Yeah, he's definitely. Yeah. I'm not cutting him out of that deck, and I'm probably not cutting him out of just a basic Flyers deck too.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's pretty good. I think he's a 6.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Urtai Scorn, which is 1 and double blue for an instant. The spell costs 1 blue mana less to cast if an opponent casts 2 or more spells this turn. Counter target spell. This is basically just cancel. You're going to play it in sealed. You should play it in sealed, but I don't think the ability is relevant at all. It's just cancel if you want it. I don't know. I'd probably go like 3 on this. I don't think you're going to play it very often.
You can like counter their second spell, right? For 2?
Yeah, I think so. Because they cast 2, and then you can, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely better than cancel. It's not like mild.
It is better than cancel just because it does something else, but it's not that much better. I think like it's very minimal how much better it is.
I feel like I would run this over Essence Scatter.
No.
Is that wrong of me?
Yes. That's super wrong.
Yeah, I feel
Like this basically does what Essence Scatter does, except they have to be like playing bad. like this card's strictly worse than Essence Scatter.
No, because Essence Scatter only encounters creatures.
Okay, but like they have to double spell.
yeah.
No,
I
they
think 8
don't.
out of 10
You just
times.
have to have 3 mana out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
They have to
Yeah.
double spell for it to be the same rate as Essence
Yeah,
Scatter.
like
for
how
sure.
many
Yeah.
times you're probably countering a creature more often than not with this thing, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Have you ever put cancel in the draft deck?
Probably.
You're a liar.
Probably.
You're a
In
liar.
the last 2 years, maybe not, but probably.
For sure not.
What do you got this at?
4.
Yeah, I got it as a 4 too. It's just
I have
that
it
is
at
what it is.
3.
Next we have Founding the Path. This is a 2 mana, 1 colorless, 1 blue saga. It has read ahead. First chapter is you may cast an instant or sorcery spell with value 1 or 2 mana from your hand without paying its cost. Second is target player mills 4 cards. Third is exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, copy it. You may cast the copy. A little bit of just super value if you're in the deck, I guess. Like 2 mana and you get to play your spell for free, and then a couple turns later you might be able to play another thing for free. I still don't feel like it's like amazing. I'm gonna just give it a 5. I think if it gets you, if it lets you basically play it for free because you cast something else for free and then you get a decent card back, that's probably worth it. But I'll give it a 5.
Yeah, at worst you're getting your spell back that you played that 1 or 2. But then if you blank on that or don't have it in your deck, then you just go straight to read ahead and go to chapter 2 to mill to try to get the instant or sorcery. But there's no guarantee on this card. It's really situational, and I'm predicting some people are just going to whiff on this card more often than not too. I think it's a 3.
I have it at 4. I'm not sure how much you really want to be like milling yourself, and I kind of feel like milling your opponent's kind of irrelevant too. I feel like you kind of just have to mill yourself with it for it to really be good. But I don't know. I think you're gonna miss more than hit with this card.
I just feel like a 2 mana late game, like get something back. Like obviously you have to play it this turn.
Yeah.
You're paying for it though. You're paying a card for that.
Right, but like you
Like,
play that card all the time. Like that's the card that sees play all the time. Usually it's attached to a 2/1 body and it costs 5.
yeah, which is a 2/1 body, which is better than casting a instant or sorcery spell with mana value 1 or 2 from your hand.
Right,
I
but
don't know. I
usually
don't
you
like.
can't play those on curve. This is one that you theoretically could play on curve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm still pretty low.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be like amazing by any means, but like 2 mana just getting an instant or sorcery back could be invaluable.
I think getting it back, but I mean, just you have to get it, and you have to play it that turn. You have to have the mana for it to play it. It's not letting you cast it without paying its mana cost. All right, next up we got Frost Strider. It's a 3 colorless double blue for a 4/4 elemental giant with Ward 2. When Frost Strider enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. This is pretty decent. You know, we've seen Berg Strider before in Kaldheim, and that guy's been pretty good. You know, this one doesn't. This one just always does it, which is pretty good. And he has a little bit of evasion, so you get or not evasion, but you get some of that protection without wards. That's how you're getting probably that extra blue mana symbol there. Berg Strider was pretty good back in its day, and so but this one's a little bit harder to cast. It's probably like a 5 for me.
I have it at 6. Bergstein is busted.
Yeah, I'm at 6 trending towards 7. I think I mean like all like Showbringer, all that stuff was like very good. Like Showbringer was a 5 mana 3/3 flyer that did the same thing but didn't have ward. Obviously, that's probably a little bit better than this because it had flying, but I think I'm at a 6, maybe a 7. Like I could be convinced into a 7.
I like it. Next up, we have Joint Exploration, which is 1 and a blue for an instant with kicker 1 green mana. Try to, then draw a card. If this spell was kicked, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. It's basically like Growth Spiral, but costs more mana. I would probably put this at like a 4. This isn't going to make the cut a lot, but Scrying 2 is pretty decent. I'm kind of at like a 4, maybe a 5. Kind of ramp too. Seems okay. It's not like the end of the world to play one of these.
Is this worse than Impulse?
Yes,
Why?
Yeah, I think it is too. It costs
because
one more.
4 cards.
Yeah, it's 2 colored and it costs 3.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to pay the third one.
And you
It
may
costs
not.
Yeah,
two.
but so it's like a impulse where you scry half as much, or you pay an extra mana to put a land onto the battlefield.
And that's not guaranteed either. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that just becomes
way
unrelevant
worse than
like towards
impulse.
the end of the game, right? Like it's really only relevant early.
Yeah, I guess Impulse you have to take one, but it's a card like it's 4 cards,
Yeah, this
right?
is
Yes,
definitely worse than Impulse.
Is it?
way worse. Yeah, for sure.
I think so.
I'm 100% sure on
I
that
think in
too.
the domain deck, this is a little bit better just because you get that
Yeah,
extra domain. Like that's no negotiation there. That's obvious. But I think it's a 4. It's a 4 for me. I mean, it's just about the same. If I could do like point something, I'd have Impulse a little higher than this.
even in the domain deck, if you aren't base green domain, like
Hmm.
I don't think it's better. Like impulse gets you pretty close to what you're looking for most of the
Yeah.
time.
I don't know.
That
I
doesn't
mean,
suck.
obviously that's not going to happen. That's not super realistic, but
It's okay. I think you're gonna play it every once in a
yeah,
while.
I'll give it a 4. That's right there with Impulse for me. To me, like they're the same. All right, next we have Micromancers, 3 colorless and a blue for 3/3. And when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an instant or sorcery card with mana value 1, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. That so far is the blue hexproof one.
Yeah, that's one of them.
The +1/+1 and give a creature hexproof and untap it.
Then
Yeah.
there's also the cantrip too.
Yeah, I think this is pretty decent.
Yeah, this is probably a 5. Maybe a 6.
Yeah, I could give it a 4. I mean, it's just as good as the pieces around it. And so this card, at least it can fetch a spell to protect itself. I think it's a solid 4. I mean, you get a good body on it too, just like hill giant kind of stuff right there, or a little bit better than that, a little 3/3/4.
I think this is like a 7.
Wow.
Yep. Like I think like just getting an extra card out of it. Yeah, you're drawing like a pretty low impact spell, but I like it quite a bit.
Yeah,
I
I'm gonna
like
go
it quite
for
a
5
bit.
on this after you said that because I think if you pick up like a kicker spell with this too,
Yeah, the kicker spells too also make this
yeah,
weirdly relevant. I
it's
think like any blue deck
yeah,
has at least one
yeah.
like one cost spell that they could just go get.
It
It
definitely
seems
feels
like
bad
just
when you can't search,
value.
though. I'll definitely say it feels bad when you can't search.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't play this if you didn't have at least like one or two. I think two is probably like where this goes from like if you have one, this would probably be like a 5. If you have two, I think it goes all the way up to like a 7.
Woof.
I'm going to go spoiler alert. There is, if
Yeah.
you scroll down 2 cards, there's unsummon
Oh,
for
okay.
1.
Oh
I mean,
shit.
it's not
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
unsummon. It's better unsummon, but it's
Yeah.
like unsummon with kicker.
Well, future me says 5 now, but I'll stick with my 4 then.
I'll say
It's a
6.
3/3 though. That's just like a decent
It's
value.
decent
Like
bad,
it's like
but I mean,
Organ Hoarder basically.
if you don't get but if you don't get the card with it, it's just like such a bad creature,
But
right?
like you wouldn't put this in your deck if you couldn't get cards with it.
I mean, sometimes you just draw your 1-drop instance and it's like,
Yeah, but if you have like two, you might be a little safer.
all
I
right.
wouldn't even feel that bad paying an extra 1 mana for a 3/3, right? Like it's okay, especially in blue.
All right. Next up, we got Protect the Negotiators. 1 colorless, 1 blue. Kicker white. It's an instant. If this spell was kicked, create a 1/1 white soldier token. Its other text is counter target unless its controller pays 1 colorless for each creature you control. So it fuels itself on the kicker, but may not work if you don't if you don't have the kicker. I don't know. Scaling cards like this have been the mixed reviews most of the time. I mean, this is probably like at least it's 1 to counter with the kicker, and then it probably goes up from there. It's probably a 4.
Yeah, I have this at 6. I think this is even better than Essence Scatter.
Hmm.
Like, just being able to make a 1/1,
Yeah.
it kind of fuels itself a little. It's
Yeah.
cute. I like it. I'm a fan.
Kind of looks like there's gonna be like a little flying, aggressive, somewhat deck, and this is just ideal to have late in the game with that. I think.
Yeah, it
Like you,
turns on your Soldier Lord too.
yeah, you go. Yeah, that's true. You go 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, and then you have mana up for this. They have to pay,
Yeah,
2-3 mana to get by it. It's definitely good. 2 mana. I mean, if it's ever close to mana leak, it's like obviously amazing. But obviously, it only goes in a certain kind of deck. So for that, I'll just give it a 5.
next we have Rona's Vortex, which is 1 blue mana with kicker 2 and a black. Return target creature or planeswalker you don't control to its owner's hand. If this spell was kicked, put that permanent on the bottom of its owner's library instead. This is gas. I like this a lot. Stick with Micromancer. Putting something on the bottom of your opponent's library is pretty real. Like, that's deals with it forever, basically. Like, I'd probably put this in like 7 with like other premium removal.
Yeah, and this is an instant. This is
Yes,
instant.
yes. Or just balancing something is sometimes relevant. It's pretty flexible.
Yeah, putting some on bottom for 4 is like fairly costed, and there's the flexibility to bounce
That's
something.
pretty
turn
low,
1.
even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. So yeah, I'm with you. It's a 7.
I'm at a 7 with this. I mean, this is just good at every point. Every part of this card is good, and it's kind of cool that you see a planeswalker attached to that just randomly.
That is sick. I
It's
didn't even
pretty
think
cool.
about
So it's a little
that.
bit more than an unsummon, which is cool. And then that kicker cost is really going to be big. Just getting rid of it. I wish it could do like its normal the other 4-cost ones where they get to choose top or bottom, but I think it's just bottom. It just straight up gets rid of it. It's premium removal 7.
Yep. Love it.
Now we're on to the rares and mythics. Next we have Academy Lore Master. Academy Lore Master costs double blue. It's a 2/3. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player may draw an additional card. If they do, spells cast this turn cost 2 more to cast. If you're the blue instant control mage, typical stuff, you'll like it. But I think most of the time this card is not like super amazing. I'm gonna give it a 4. I think it's kind of bad.
I'm torn between a 3 or a 4. I think the stats on it just are good. Just for a double blue, you get a 2/3. That's pretty decent enough. I don't like that they get the first card out of this though. I do not like that portion of it. I mean, it's if you draw it late, they get the first card, they kill it. It really did nothing. I don't know if that taxing those cards is really worth it either. Yeah, I think it's probably like a 4. I guess I'm gonna go 4.
Yeah, this is a solid 1 for me. You're throwing if you put this in your deck.
Yeah.
Like, you are actively throwing the game. Like, this card is ass. Like, you do not want to actually play this. This reminds me a lot of Survival Specialists, where you think you're getting something good,
Yeah.
but it's a lie. It's completely a lie. This card's a trap.
Yeah.
I hate it. It's a 1.
You've got me down.
You wouldn't put this in your deck. Like, you genuinely shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's a
You got me down
mistake.
to on it now.
I added a note, and if I see this card at Friday Night Magic in my first 3 to 4 picks, I'm gonna beat you with it.
You're gonna get rolled. Because I'm just gonna be dirtling. I don't care. I just get card advantage.
Yeah.
Like,
he gets the first.
If you want card advantage, then we're even. Right? Like,
yeah.
It's stupid.
But I'm gonna cast all my stuff on your
card.
turn. That's the thing.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's terrible. It's a bad card.
I mean, it is, but it's still a 2/3 for 2.
All right, we got Ether.
It's a 2/3 for away. I can't let that stand. It's not just a 2/3 for 2. It's a 2/3 for 2 with mega downside. Because like you can't just play it as a 2/3 because your opponent can keep like drawing cards
and not playing anything.
Yeah.
They hella can.
They can just draw cards and not play cards.
It's worse than
That's
a 2/3
fine.
for 2. It's way worse than a 2/3 for 2.
No, it's not.
Oh man, I would love to have somebody play this against me. Like,
You're just
I'm
gonna
gonna
draw a
love it.
card every turn, and everything costs 2
And
more to
win.
cast forever.
Like, and just win.
Yeah, at a certain point,
Like,
you draw the lands to just get out of that.
yeah.
Yeah,
like,
that
I'm gonna
takes
be
a
hitting
while.
every land drop.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
We'll
that's
see.
you're gonna also be doing nothing, or I'm just gonna have a huge advantage over you.
And then where the heck are you getting double blue from?
Yeah, it's a horrible card.
All right. Ether Channeler. Two colorless, one blue for a 2/1 human wizard. When Ether Channeler enters the battlefield, choose one. Create a 1/1 bird creature token with flying. Return another target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, or you can draw a card. This guy's got a lot of good different things. Very flexible. At worst, these are pretty decent abilities. Just bouncing something back, drawing that card. We I think this guy's a solid 5, maybe a 6, probably a 6 actually, just because of its toolbox ability.
Yeah, I have it as 7. It just does enough things that, like, it's always gonna have a relevant ability. Like, it's always gonna, like, help you get out of a pinch. I like him a lot.
Man of War was a 6 or 7. Is that what I'm hearing?
Man
Is
of
this
War's
Man of
like
War?
a 7. Yeah, it's strictly better than Man of War.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's so good. But like, it's at the end of the day, it's still like a 2/1. Like, it's not. It reminds me a lot of like Inspiring Overseer. Like, it's amazing, but like, it's not just gonna win you a game.
Yeah.
It could actually, but it's very good.
I'm going to
I'm
7.
at 7. I'm at 7. I can't.
I'm at
I can't
8.
really
I'm at 8. I would definitely go higher than. I would take this over removal without ever batting
Yeah,
an eye.
I would too, but
I'm an 8.
maybe I have to go to 8 just because I would take it over every single piece of removal ever.
Yeah, I mean this guy's just going into the deck. Period. I mean he's top 10 in your deck. I mean he's first 10 right there. I'm starting with him. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, he's just so versatile. He's like a super versatile Man of War that, like, even if your opponent is named Roby and doesn't play any creatures, he's still super worth it.
yeah, you're not missing when this guy's in your deck. It's just a solid include.
You get a bird, you get a card. Usually the bird's probably just as good as a card most of the time.
All right, next up we have Defiler of Dreams, which is 3 and 2 blue for a creature, Phyrexian Sphinx, and it's a 4/3 with flying. As an additional cost to cast blue permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost 1 blue mana less to cast if you paid life this way. This effect reduces only the amount of blue mana you pay. Whenever you cast a blue permanent spell, draw a card. This is a 10. Easy. Easy. It's a 4/3 flyer that draws you a shit ton of cards. Sick.
Would you take
It's
this
amazing.
over the Angel? The Black Red Angel?
Probably.
Wow.
Probably.
Me too.
I
I
would.
probably would too.
I would.
Like, they're about equal.
But I
So
would take
you
this
think this is
over
a
it.
10?
So it's better. Yeah,
What's
I do
yours?
think this is a 10, yeah.
I think this is a 10.
Wow. I think it's a 9. I think the extra. I mean, you got to work a lot for that. How many blue permanents are you really going to have in your 5-color deck? If it's a more devoted deck, it's good, like devoted to white blue flyers, or it's 2-color deck. I think it gets worse as you stretch into more colors.
Yeah,
There's-
you want to be pretty heavy blue, but you know
Yeah.
what card this reminds me of? This
Hmm.
reminds me of Bolus's Citadel,
Yeah.
where you just like you play this and then you just proceed to pop the fuck off. Like, this is gross. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like
it has
this a
no
lot.
way of like protecting itself, which I don't like either. I mean, it's nice to have. Actually, kind of, sort of does with the Phyrexian mana there. You can lower down your counter spells with that, so you play it on 6, and then you can
Yeah,
counter whatever they got coming up.
you
Well,
can
your
play the
hexproof. A little
hexproof
hexproof for
card.
2 life, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh man, that's really strong. Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's probably a 9 for me. I mean, you just gotta. I think you gotta be heavy blue to really get the real advantage out of it that you really want. I just don't think you're playing it in a domain
I
deck.
think you want to build around it for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a build around me. So
But like, if you build, I don't think it will be too hard to build around this. And like, I can just see a scenario where I play this on 5 and proceed to take 10 damage to my life total and just have an insane board.
yeah,
like, it's gonna be gross.
Only get to get shot in the face by the white red uncommon flyer.
Yep.
But
All day, every day.
like this will definitely be gross. I don't know. I can definitely see this popping off. I can also see it like just like a scenario where you just double spell next turn and you get to draw 1 card. You know what I mean? Like you have 1 blue permanent, you pay the 2 4 life whatever to reduce the blue costs, draw a card, play another card, double spell. Like that's insane. I'm actually going to a 9 because it doesn't do anything right when you play it.
Yep.
Like it doesn't. It can be answered
It
and nothing
can't-
happens, and it does not win
kinda
you the game on the spot.
yeah.
It can.
It's
It's definitely possible to do
Like,
that.
It
how do you
can. Like if you're at like 8 mana, it can. Yeah.
Yeah, like, is this still a 10 when you're top decking and this is the card you have with nothing in hand? Like,
Right,
is this
it's
the card
not.
you
Yeah,
really
it's a
want?
9.
It's not. That's not like that. That's where a 10 goes to me, where it's like at any point that card is just strong. This card is like, it's strong. It's
Nah.
only as good as the pieces around it and how situation.
It's still a 4/3 flyer. Like, I don't know. I feel like the upside when it pops off, this is gonna be like the stupidest card in the
Yeah, of
entire
course.
format.
Yeah, but I don't think
Like,
it's 10.
I feel like you gotta mean it when you play this card. When you
It's
pick
not-
this card, you gotta mean it.
It's
You
not
can't
close
just
to
half-ass
Rafine.
this.
It's not Rafine. It's not.
No.
Oh, this is better than Rafine.
Oh, it's hot.
Hot take.
Hot take.
I mean, I'm even considering lowering it to an 8, but I just rated the
Nah.
last card an 8, so I won't do that. But it is good. Next, we have Hadi Jin. It's colorless and 2 blue for an X4 flyer. Its power is equal to the number of instants and sorcery cards in your graveyard, and instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Obviously, this is made for like a certain type of deck. If you're not playing that deck, you shouldn't play this card. That being said, if you are playing that deck, this is probably an 8, maybe a 7. But just making the instant sorceries cost 1 less is huge. If it ever is like a 3/4 flyer, that's huge. 3 mana X4 flyer is pretty good. It's not nothing. So I'll go with the 7.
Yeah, this guy's got some crazy range. You know, he goes for me from a 4 in a deck that's not devoted to instant sorceries all the way to like an 8. I mean, just making him cost less is pretty nice too. And he's aggressively at that 3. That 4 toughness is pretty good too as a flyer. As we've seen, most of the flyers have either 2 power or 3 power. So this guy's just blocking everything in the air. And he's probably trading with them if you've played any instant sorceries throughout the course of the game. So it's a solid like 5.
Yeah, I'm at like a 7 on it. In the deck that wants it, I think that's where it's a pretty good payoff. It's a pretty good enabler and a payoff in the same card, which is usually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like it. Seems solid. Seems what you want to be doing.
I wouldn't feel bad first picking it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. For sure not.
All right. Next up is the phasing of Zalfir. For 2 colorless and 2 blue, you get an enchantment saga with read ahead. The first 2 chapters are the same, 1 and 2. Another target non-land permanent phases out. It can't be phased in as long as you control phasing of Zalfir. And its 3rd chapter is destroy all creatures. For each creature destroyed this way, its controller creates a 2/2 black Phyrexian creature. That's kind of different when you get to see a Wrath in blue. Yeah, that's it's not every day. And I think this one's kind of interesting. You know, it's fair in a way that they get the creatures, but then you get to keep your best creatures. And so I kind of like that. Skipping ahead, you know, if the board is really messed up, you know, you just strip straight to 3 and this thing just goes off. I kind of like it. It's definitely like a 6 to me. It's not gonna like it'll just stabilize the game, and then if you have something worthwhile to phase out, you know, it could win you the game.
Yeah, this is like a 5 for me. This is a big brain card. Like, I don't think it's just good on its own. I think like this is like a weird. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but it's like a 5 for me. I like it and I'm gonna play it, but I don't know how good it is really.
I legitimately think it's bad. Like I hate this card.
I
The
know you
only
do.
reason Wraths are good is because it clears their board. This just gives them 2/2s. There's going to be situations where destroying all their creatures and giving 2/2s is bad. That's
Yeah.
bad to do.
Well, then you phase out their tokens and stuff, though, or you phase out those creatures so they don't get them.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
then you just have to wait 3 turns for your Wrath. Like, that's cool.
But
That's
like
like
it's
phasing them out.
buying you time. It's buying you
Yeah, it
time,
buys
right?
you the time with the phasing. They don't come back in until this thing's done. So at least you get
Yeah.
you're basically stunning 2 creatures.
It's kind of like a fog.
Yeah,
It can be a fog. It can
yeah.
also
It's
save your
not.
creatures. It's
I mean,
kind of a fog. Like
It's
low key.
not.
it's
Like, you're just talking about phasing out 1/1s, but like you're going to be phasing out their best creatures, but then you're going to turn all their 1/1s into 2/2s. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, it
It's
just
a
feels
weird card for
bad.
sure.
It just feels bad. It's not going to be good. It's a 3.
I think when you start phasing out tokens with this thing, you're gonna. Oh, not even tokens because tokens don't relieve the battlefield.
Yeah, it doesn't kill them.
It doesn't kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all right. It just buys you the time that you need.
Yeah, I'm pretty mixed on it. Next up, we have Silver Scrutiny, which is X blue blue. For a sorcery, you may cast Silver Scrutiny as though it had flash if X is 3 or less. Draw X cards. 5 mana, draw 3. Flash is pretty okay. And then late game, this is just pretty fucking disgusting. It's probably like a 7, like a high 7 for me. You're gonna play this in blue decks.
I'm at low 7, but yeah, I'm still at 7, so we're pretty same page.
Yeah, I think this is a 7. The fact that it goes instant is really good, and you get that. That's kind of a benchmark on those like draw threes at instant speed like that, and then just having a higher upside is really good. I think it's a 0 as far as me stuttering over Silver Scrutiny, saying that a bunch of
Yeah,
times.
oh yeah, it's super. It's
Yeah,
a tongue
but
twister.
aside from that, definitely like it's definitely a solid 7. I mean, it's just gonna draw you a bunch of cards, and then in the end game, it's gonna be super disgusting when you get to pop that off at the end of turn.
All right, if we're going to rate the name, what do we rate in the art? Because I kind of dig it.
I like the art. It's
The art's
cool.
good. Name bad.
The
Name
name
bad art
fast.
good. I'm giving the art like a solid. I'm giving
It's
this
an 8.
art a solid 8, yeah.
Yeah,
Solid 8.
I like the
Solid 8.
colors. The colors are cool.
It's no Bone Splinters art, but we'll save that for later.
I do like the Bones Fans art too.
All right, next we have Sphinx of the Clear Skies. It's 3 colorless and a blue for a 5/5 flyer with Ward 2. Has domain. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles, put one in your hand and the other in the graveyard. This is right there with the other ones. Like, this card's obviously like super good and it's better with domain. It's somewhat built around you, but it's still a 5/5 flyer with Ward 2 that draws you a card every turn at least, because you're gonna hit 2 because you're most likely gonna be at least 2 colors. So it draws you a card every time it deals combat damage to a player. This is a 9 to me. This is very good.
It's pretty good. I love these kind of factor fiction-y kind of cards where they get to make the choice and you really put them to the test there. Man, I'm so good at splitting too. Like if I'm splitting these piles, it's pretty good. Man, this is a 9. It's probably a 10. No, it's got to be a 9. It's not impactful when it enters the battlefield, but it's impactful as heck when it deals combat damage. It even does, which it probably will eventually. So I mean, you just pick off all their flyers, and then finally you get in with this thing and just finish off the game. Solid.
I do think Ward does a good job of like canceling out the has to be impactful when it enters the battlefield
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
clause. Like,
I agree.
Ward's pretty good at like negating that feels bad if it dies, because that like gets way harder to kill. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. This card gets this card. It's funny. It tests your opponent on their skill too, about kind of what they need or how they split these piles. Sometimes I kind of dig that. I always like doing like a 1. If you got like 4 domain, you just do like a 1/3 split, just based on what they want. I don't know. It's cool. I like it. It's a 9 to me.
Yeah, I have it at 9. It's a bomb. You're gonna
Yeah.
play it.
Yeah, you're always playing this card. Next up, we got Vesuvian Duplimancy. It costs 3 colorless, 1 blue for an enchantment. When you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, create a token that's a copy of that artifact or creature, except it's non-legendary. Oh man, I mean, this feels like it's going to be fun and constructed. In draft, oh man, this can really pop off if you really got some of those targeting type spells. I just don't know how many of them you're realistically going to have in your deck, especially as a spell. Creatures may be another thing, but spells are pretty tough. I think if you got the spells for it, it's probably it's easily like a 7. I mean, this thing pops up even more than that. But I think it's just a card on its own. It's probably like a 3.
Yeah, it's asking a lot. I have it at like a 4. I'm probably leaning more towards a 3 though. Cause like it's asking a lot from you. You have to like play this do nothing enchantment. Then you have to have like a pretty even split of spells that target creatures or artifacts. And those creatures or artifacts in your deck. It seems really hard to build around. I think when you pop off, I think the ceiling of this is like a 6. And I don't think it's gonna pop up that often. I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, I think Will's gonna try to build around this card a couple too many times if he ever,
It's gonna be bad.
does it. But I think like for it to be good, you have to have a creature that's super good to copy, and spells that can target it,
Yeah.
and
And
this thing out already.
and you're kind of just wasting your spell too.
Yeah.
Most of
Right.
the time.
Actually, it's
Like
probably more of a 1 now that these
yeah, like
cards lining.
most of the spells that you're gonna be like targeting your creatures with are not gonna be good to target your creatures with. Like, like I feel like you just use the 1 mana cantrip to give your creature -1/-0 just to get a copy of it. Like, yeah, I'm down to 2.
Sure, there's like a little green or red buff, but yeah, I'm at 2. I think it's bad.
Yeah.
I think it'll be one of the worst,
fine, but-
definitely rares in the set.
Vidalian Hexcatcher is up next, which is 1 and a blue for a Merfolk Wizard, a 1/1. With Flash, other merfolks you control get +1/+1. Sacrifice some merfolk, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. This is probably pretty mid in draft. I'd probably give it like a 3. I'm not sure how many merfolk we have running around, but I can't imagine this is good. It does sack itself, but I don't know. You can kind of just play it like a sensor.
It's definitely like an annoying card to play against if they've got a couple
Oh, well, it's
Murlocs.
also non-creature spell too, so it's less good than a sensor. But yeah, I'm not crazy about it.
I'm not crazy about it, but I think it's fine. Like 2
You're
mana
gonna
you
put this
could
in the deck. 2
like
mana
would you
for
rather have this or negate?
negate's like a 2.
This
And negate
yeah,
that
I
spell.
understand. Negate's bad, but this is way better than negate. You know what I mean?
This is slightly better than negate.
This is
Like
way
negate
better.
actually full blown will counter any non-creature spell.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like this might counter a non-creature spell.
And if you have
Or
other
you can have
Murlocs, the flash buff is sick too.
merfolks.
Murlocs, Murfolks. Yeah, if you have other Murfolks, the flash buff, the flash board buff is pretty sick.
I'm still low as fuck on
I'm
this.
giving it
Is
a
it?
5.
You
I'm
get
giving it a 5.
wow, that's very generous of you.
Oh
It's
man.
definitely a 2. It's
Yeah.
definitely a 2. I don't know how the Merfolk payout is. There's clearly a plant for actually other sets. It's just they throw these cards in there to boost up some modern or some pioneer or whatever. Yeah, this is just a 2.
Next we have Vidalian Mindsinger. Colorless double blue for a 2/2 creature. Kicker 1 red and or 1 and a green. Enters the battlefield with 2/1/1 counters for each time it was kicked. When it enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature with power less than its power for as long as you control it. So it can be a 2/2 for 3. It can be a 4/4 for 5, or it can be a 6/6 for 7. And you gain control of something. I think it's pretty sick. I think this is 8 flirting with 9.
Yeah, this is a solid 8 for me. I mean, my gosh, this guy just scales throughout the game, picking up something big at the end, take their best creature. That's within its power level there. Yeah, it's just solid.
Yeah, this is a solid 9 for me. Good. It's Mind Flayer. It's like a big Mind Flayer you can attack with.
Hmm.
And if times are tough, you can always sacrifice it to Vodalian Hex Catcher to counter target non-creature spell. So what's upside? It's a merfolk.
If you turn 2 Hexcatcher, turn 3 this, and you can take the
Yeah,
3/3. That's pretty
you
good.
can take their 3/3, and if they try to kill it,
Oh man.
that you can sack it.
You can sack the Hexcatcher.
Yeah, you can sack this.
You could
You
sack
could.
this.
You could. Sick.
Oh man.
Huge fan. Yep.